Okay. I want to start out two things here. First, I'm going to just be presenting to you my interpretation of some of the things between chapter 13 and chapter 19. There are, without question, many different interpretations of these scriptures, really of the whole book of Revelation and really of the whole Bible. So I'm going to be giving you my slant, what I believe God has given me. Take it that way, you know. The Word of God has got to be the guideline, not me. Okay. So I want to say that, you know, there are a good number of people who have had 20, 30, 40 years of ministry just talking about the book of Revelation, end time events. You know, there have been John Hagee, he has a lot. And I'm giving you these names, you might want to take note of them. If you're ever going to decide to study this, these are some other things that you can reference. John Hagee does a lot with it. There's a guy named Hilton Sutton, very well respected in the field of the end times events. Jack Van Impe, somebody local here out of Troy, y'all know him, most of us. A guy named Tim LaHaye, the guy that did those series of books, Left Behind, Tim LaHaye. So there's, you know, those are some different people. And, you know, I've been in reading this stuff and studying this stuff a lot longer than I have. However, I do have what I have read. I do have what I believe, you know, God has shown me. And so that's what I'm going to present to you. There was two approaches that I was going to take with this. I was either going to talk from a storyline perspective, in other words, talk about what was going on in the books. And that can be quite a challenge because it takes a lot of time. Because, I mean, there's so much going on just in any one given chapter, much less the whole book of Revelation. You could, Pastor and I could probably talk about this for 2 months of Sundays, you know, if you really got into depth with this. The other side is symbolic. Just some of the interpretations of what the things symbolize. And that's the way I'm going to approach this. Just some of the things, what they symbolize. So that way when you go back and read it, if you have a possible interpretation of what these things symbolize, it might make it a little easier for you to read and get more out of it. Okay? All right. We're on Revelation 13. Okay, there are two primary figures in Revelation 13. And both of them are beasts. And what we're going to do is talk about these two beasts here. Again, I'm going to talk about symbolically what they symbolize, what I believe they symbolize. I'll get into a little bit of storyline because you're going to have to understand some of what's going on to really understand who they are. But the first figure we're going to look at is verse 1 says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." So you have a beast here, 7 heads and 10 horns. That's the way he's described. Now, the question is going to be, well, who is this? What is this beast talking about? So I want to explore that. Let's turn over to Revelation 17. Explore that for a moment. A little bit more detail about this beast. You know what? Here, let's do this. I'm sorry. Keep your finger there. First time I get to do like the pastor does that. Keep your finger there and go back to 13. I want to read verse 2. Back to 13, verse 2. It says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." Now, the dragon is in reference to what's in chapter 12. In the Bible, as a matter of fact, we'll look at 12 real quick. Go back to chapter 12. Okay. Let's look at verse 9 here. It says, "And the great dragon was," well, here, let me do this. Let's set this up. Verse 3 says, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So that sounds like the same description, right? Okay, look at verse 9. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. So the dragon, this red dragon, is the devil. However, over in chapter 13, it references this as a beast. Has the same description, 7 heads and 10 horns. But it says the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So you see that they are two different things here. Okay, that's the first thing I want to point out. Now back to chapter 17. Okay, let's look at verse 9, starting at verse 9. This is talking about the dragon again in chapter 17. It says, and here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and there are 7 kings. So these 7 heads symbolize 7 kings. And it says here, 5 are fallen. Talking about 5 of these kings have already died, gone on, and one is yet to come. So that's 7. So now these heads are symbolizing kings, is what the Bible is saying here. But then look at verse 8, not verse 8, verse 11. Okay, I'm going to go 10 again. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, one is, another is yet to come. And when he comes, he must continue short space. But look at verse 11 says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7 and goes into perdition. So the beast himself is actually an 8th king. Okay, so this beast is symbolizing kings in different time periods that are going to be in power. Okay? All right. Go back to chapter 13. We'll start looking at verse 5. So we have here a dragon, 7 heads, 10 horns. It's symbolizing kings of the earth. Oh, you know what? Let's do this while we're here. I'm sorry. Flip again back to 17. Bouncing around. Okay, let's look at verse 12. It says, and the 10 horns which you saw, some of these 10 horns on this beast, are 10 kings, which have no kingdom as yet, but they receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So now these 10 horns also symbolize 10 kings. But notice that these 10 kings they're not in power yet, and they are going to receive their power as kings at the time of the 8th beast, is what I believe is going on here. So during the time of the 8th beast, there will be 10 kings that will be set up. And they actually league up with him. They team up with him. That's why they're a part of his makeup. Now back to 13. So that beast symbolizes king in the earth. And the reason that the symbolism is the same, the 7 heads and 10 horns, because this is who the dragon or who Satan is working through to do his plan in the earth. Okay? All right, now back to chapter 13. I'll read starting at verse 5. It says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemy, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Okay, so this beast is going to blaspheme the name of God and his kingdom and so on and so forth. I do want to give a little bit more detail of what this beast does that goes into perdition. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. Chapter 2. This same beast, or this same Antichrist is what I should say. This is part of what's making him the Antichrist, by the way. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, I'm going to look at verse 4. Well, I'll start at verse 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. This is talking about this last king in the end times. It says, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So in his blasphemy, what he's really doing is saying that I am God. That's what he's doing. And if you're familiar with Old Testament scripture, Satan did that, and that was his demise. That was his fall from heaven. He said he wanted to be like God. And he's still trying to do it. He's working his best to the end trying to get this done. But notice he's doing this now through a man. See, that's what's going on here. And let's do this. Let's look again at Daniel, the book of Daniel. Just a little bit more about this beast in the end. Daniel chapter, I think we'll just do chapter 11. Yeah, we'll just do chapter 11. Same thing. Well, no, we can't do that. Let's look at chapter 9. Chapter 9, verse 27. And again, this is talking about this same Antichrist in the end times. Look at what it says here in verse 27 of chapter 9. It says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abomination he will make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured out upon the desolate. So this man of sin in the end is actually going to come in and try and confirm the covenant that was made with mankind through God. And in the middle of that covenant, he's going to break it. So he's presenting himself as God, as one fulfilling the covenant that God made with us. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. And that's what he's going to do. And this is really what makes him Antichrist. Because he's really coming saying that I am God, or I am Christ. Okay? One last thing I want to point out about that. Let's go back to chapter 13 of Revelation. Okay. Look at verse 7 says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. No, let's look at, that's not the only one I want to look at. Okay, let me finish reading that. To make war with the saints and overcome them. Power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So it's here that there was power given unto him. If you read that, you might mess around and think that God gave him his power. But remember what it said in verse 2, it says, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So this power was given him, was not given by God, it was given him by the devil. I just wanted to point that out, so you don't think that that's what that's saying. And the devil is trying to make war against us, right? Okay. One more thing in here. Look at verse 8, and it says, all that dwell on the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. So anybody whose name is not written in the book of life is going to be deceived and start worshiping this beast. You see that? Okay, that's important to keep in mind. Now let's look at the second beast real quick. Starting in verse 11, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke as a dragon. Now just keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to talk about that. Now look at what it says in verse 12. It says, and he exercised all the power, and he exercised the power of the first beast before him. So now, where did the power that the first beast had, where did that come from? The devil, Satan. So now this second beast is exercising that same power. Okay? And then look at what he does. It says here, and he caused the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. I'm going to keep reading. Saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast will both speak, and as many as will not worship the beast will be killed. Now look, who's causing these people to worship the beast? this second beast? Absolutely. The first beast, it actually never says that he got people to worship him. Okay, people feared him, and they were like in awe of him. But this is very clear that the second beast is the one who did miracles in front of the beast and in front of people and caused them to worship the first beast before him. Okay, he caused it. Now, not only did he cause that, but look at what it says at the end of verse 15. It says, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So now this second beast is causing those who would not worship the beast to be persecuted. Okay, so you see how important this second beast is here? He's really causing a lot of mayhem here. He's really the one that's causing people to worship him. He caused them to get the mark of the beast. He caused them to make an image to the beast. You see what I mean? To get branded with his number in their hand. It says in verse 16 that he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, bond and free, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So this man of sin, this second beast is very important in the success of the first beast, in the success of what he thinks is success anyway, and him being able to do what he had to do. Now, so who is this second beast? Now, let's look at chapter 19. Remember it said it described him and said he had two horns like a lamb but spoke as a dragon? Right. Okay, listen to this. Look at verse 20 in chapter 19. It says here, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had the mark of the beast and them that worshipped him in his image. So this person that did all this deceiving and caused people to worship the beast is called here a false prophet. Now that's important. As we close here, that's important because if you're a false prophet, that means you're one that's presenting yourself as a religious person. Amen. Okay? And you're saying that you're speaking on behalf of God. Okay, but he's actually false. And think about this. How much influence does he have that he would cause so many people in the world to believe him and start worshiping this other king as God? A lot. And think about this one more thing. This is a religious person. Imagine if this was today's time. There would have to be a religious person with that kind of influence to affect people like that. And that makes you wonder, could this be one of the people that we're heralding as great religious leaders now? Could he be the one? And understand, this religious person is saying that this guy is God. This man is God. And that's pretty big. So, and we've always talked about how we have to be careful who we follow, even as religious leaders. Even honestly, as Christians, people who call themselves Christian ministers. Amen. Because in my honest opinion, I really believe that this person is going to be saying, this false prophet is going to be saying that he is a Christian prophet. Okay, or let me put this, or a Jewish prophet. He's going to do one or the other. And he's going to be telling people that this man of sin, this Antichrist, is Christ. Because remember, they're still waiting for Christ to come. The Jews are. So keep that in mind. Because in the end time, when this stuff happens, it's going to be a religious leader that's going to be causing people to do this, not the man himself. Okay? All right, we're done. Listen.